Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Spread Option here on the CFB Nation podcast. I'm your host, Trevor Trowbridge. With me, as always, my guy, Vince D'Addario. And we are coming at you a day early.
Yep.
But we wanted to make sure that we still did this week over week because this is a pretty fun show. And we've actually had some pretty decent success, which we'll get into here in just a second. But it is Wednesday. We have a pretty loaded week. Vince, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Getting amped up to head out on a camping trip here in a few hours. So that's why we're doing the show a day early, because I'll be swimming amongst a sea of fifth grade boys for the next 24 hours. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. But yeah, that's why we're here a day early. So hey, it is what it is.
Ooh, well, best of luck to you, buddy.
Yeah,
best of luck to you. But we're bettors, and sometimes we need a little bit of luck, which is actually what we had a little bit of last week. You guys know how we're about to get down. Part one today, we're talking hit or miss. We're reviewing what we did last week, or what we hit on, what we missed on, player props, locks of the week, dogs of the week. Then we're going to get into the countdown. We got 4 games coming your way. Then, as always, Vince, your favorite part, we're talking locks and drops and dogs of the week.
Dogs, baby.
Dogs of the week. But getting us kicked off here, last week we talked about Georgia Tech at Clemson, which is actually a pretty crazy game. When we put in our predictions through Irish Breakdown, I predicted the score and the winner correctly.
Wow, look at you.
Yeah, I think now I'm like 1 of 8 on the season predicting. But you know what? It is what it is. You take the wins where you can.
That's right.
But 2 of the player props that we talked about, the first one, Vince, Haynes King over 48.5 rushing yards hit. It's no surprise Haynes King, once again, in a big game, went over 100 yards rushing. Crazy.
Yeah, Clemson had no answer for Haynes King on Saturday. None. 0.
Not a one. Not a one. The other player prop that we talked about in that game is Clemson running back Adam Randall, anytime touchdown. That also hit. He scored a touchdown on the game.
2 for 2.
So if you put in a 2-leg parlay based off of the player props that we talked about for Clemson, you made yourself a little bit of cash. Now, moving on to game number 2 that we talked about, Georgia on the road against Tennessee. Before we dive into the player props, Vince, that game was nuts. Did you watch that game?
On and off. It was on. Where was I? Oh my good. Oh, it was. I was watching it on the tailgate at over in Hillsdale. There was a big tailgate going on, and somebody had it on the side of their RV, and so I was kind of watching it a little bit off to the side, but not as closely as I would have liked to watch it. I'll just say that.
Fair enough. How did Hillsdale do?
They got dismantled by a team by Michigan Tech. Michigan Tech's a good football team, apparently. So they're ranked. They're a ranked team in D2, and they took care of the old Chargers from Hillsdale. But spoiler alert: there's a competition for the starting kicking job. So we'll see what happens.
Oh,
just saying.
Okay. We love to hear that. We do love to hear that. But Georgia at Tennessee on the road. The 2 player props that we talked about. Joey Aguilar, the quarterback for Tennessee, talked about taking his over 10.5 rushing yards, which seemed a little low. He rushed for over 30 yards against Syracuse in the opener. I thought that Vegas was putting a little bit too much emphasis on Georgia's defensive line. Unfortunately, Vegas ended up being right on this one, and Joey Aguilar finished -8 rushing yards, Vince. That one was not close.
Well, college football sacks count, so that's why that one didn't hit, unfortunately.
However, Georgia running back Nate Frazier, his over-under was set at 51.5 rushing yards. Finished the day with 73. Overtime helped out with that a little bit, but finished the day with 73 rushing yards. So his over of 51.5 would have hit. Now, staying down south, but a little bit further south, we're going to University of South Florida at Miami. Talked about that game last week. Quarterback Byron Brown, he had a passing plus rushing over-under was set.
This is a fun one. Those are fun, by the way. The combos, the passing, rushing. Yeah, those are fun.
And here's the benefit, Vince. It worked out at the end of the day. His over-under was set at 240.5 passing plus rushing yards. He got 276 total yards. Now, mind you, 274 of that was through the air. He finished the day with 2 rushing yards.
Doesn't matter.
But it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it still hit. Now, here's the caveat. We talked about Malachi Toney over in receiving yards. I did not go back and check if on Friday or on Saturday he was a player prop that you were able to bet on. Because last time we checked, you were only able to bet on C.J. Daniels receiving yards. But I'm not counting this towards a win nor a loss because last week I said if it's anything around 50 to 60 yards, I would take the over. And he finished the day with 66 receiving yards and was the team's second leading receiver. So,
I mean, it feels like a hit. I'm just saying, feels like a hit.
It's kind of like, like hot or cold or a little lukewarm. You know what I mean with that one? So,
yeah, all right.
Because the line could have been set at 72, and you just never know.
Yeah.
You just never know, unfortunately. So, staying honest. I'm staying honest. But
all right.
Luckily, we don't have to worry about that, Vince, because the final game that we talked about last week, Texas A&M Aggies at Notre Dame. We're not even going to talk about the final score because I hardly remember what happened in that game, except we talked about Malachi Fields over 40.5 receiving yards to the surprise of neither one of us.
No one.
That hit. He went over 40.5 receiving yards, finished the day with 77 receiving yards on 5 receptions. Vince, you and I talked about this one for a long time. CJ Carr's over 205.5 passing yards. That hit by flying colors. Finished the day with 293 passing yards. Pretty good day for the redshirt freshman.
Yeah, no doubt. Offensive numbers, you're going to start seeing a trend here for Notre Dame. Offensive numbers, take the over, and anything over under in any game Notre Dame is involved in, take the over. Like those are my year-long locks, basically. Take the over.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed completely. Now, had a lot of fun with the player props, and our overall record with player props improved significantly. Unfortunately, Vince, you and I had a rough week in locks of the week. Unfortunately. Now, look,
been a rough season.
I was certain that Boston College was going to beat Stanford by 2 touchdowns. I went on a rant about how bad Stanford was going to be. Maybe they used me as bulletin board material. Maybe one of our 10 live listeners was, Frank Reich or Andrew Luck. Who knows? But at the end of the day, Stanford ended up winning 30-20. How crazy is that?
They did. And that is something that I don't think anybody saw coming, especially with the spread the way that it was. Vegas certainly didn't see it coming. I mean, 13.5 points. And I mean, it wasn't even close. Like, it just wasn't even close. So that's a bad beat right there. That's a bad beat right there.
It's just one of those where it's like, I was like, okay, going into last week, I was 1-2 in my locks of the week. Let me just pick something safe. Stanford's terrible. Boston College just put up 40 points on the road against Sparty.
They had a great game against Michigan State. Michigan State's a decent team.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what happened.
Neither do I. But at the end of the day, that's the bettor's life. And Vince, I know you got a little taste of that this week in locks of the week as well.
Well, I felt really good about Clemson bouncing back, and it's Georgia Tech. It's essentially it's becoming a bit of an ACC rivalry game for these two. And I was like, okay, look, yes, Clemson's going on the road, all of those things. They were predicted to be a playoff team. They're not going to go to 1-2, Trev. There's just no way. So I took Clemson on the money line at Georgia Tech, and they freaking lost the game by 3 on a last-second field goal. There goes my lock of the week. So you and I are both sitting at 1-3 on the season. Not great.
Rough. Definitely rough. One that I did not see coming. But as always, our saving grace, more so should I say Vince's saving grace, dogs of the week. I finally got back into the positive win column here. I said take New Mexico spread at plus 13.5 against UCLA on the road. The Bruins, not a good ball club this year, man. Not a good ball club.
Worse than I thought that they were going to be, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I just expected them to cover. I did not expect New Mexico to win the game 35-10.
Wow.
Yeah, shortly after that, the UCLA head coach was let go.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that they are in search of a new head coach right now. But nonetheless, New Mexico at plus 13.5 hit in my dog of the week. And Vince has advanced to 4-0 after his dog of the week hit.
Yeah, UTEP was or I should say Texas was giving up 40.5 points to UTEP. That's just a huge number where Texas's offense hasn't exactly been, operating on every cylinder. And so I was like, I don't think that they're going to win by 40.5. That was correct. They only won by 17. So that number was never even close to in doubt since Texas only put up 27 total. So they definitely didn't win by 41. So that one hit and it wasn't close. So sends me to 4-0, Trev. Feeling really, really good about my dogs of the week. We're going to see what happens this week. We'll get to that at the end. But trying to go to 5-0, man. Trying to go undefeated. I'm a highly ranked player here in the dogs of the week. Kind of a top 5 kind of guy. Hopefully, the pressure doesn't get to me and I drop a game here.
Fair enough. No, that is absolutely fair. Quick review of the records for everybody, because I know we get a lot of questions about our running tally for the season. So on player props, we are 16 of 11. Significant improvement from last week. Going into last week, we were 10-10. We were deadlocked at 500. We are now 16-11 after a pretty good week of player props. That's not too bad.
No.
Not too bad at all. Locks of the week, unfortunately, that is a different question, and I think it begs the question, are these actually locks of the week? Well, who knows? We're going to be looking to bounce back this week, but Vince and I are both 1-3 in our locks. I am 2-2. I'm back up to 500 in dogs of the week. And Vince, like we have talked about, our guy is undefeated, ranked in the AP top 10.
This is where you cash out. Cash out. Don't press your luck. It's time to go home. But no, I am going to press my luck. I've got another one for you. We'll see what happens.
We love it. We love it. Vince has 4 times the amount of wins in dogs of the week that Notre Dame has wins on the regular season. So he's off to a hot start. Now, part 2, we're getting into the countdown. Like I said, we picked 4 games to break down. First game, number 17, Texas Tech on the road against number 16, Utah. Battle in the Big 12. Here's the big 3. Spread, Utah right now is favored at -2.5. And then the over-under is set at 57.5.
It's a good size number.
Hefty number.
Yeah, it's a good size number.
Hefty number. But Utah is at home. So at the end of the day, this is kind of one of those pick 'em games, Vince, because you get about a 3-point bump when you play at home. Vegas sees this going either way. I think this one's going to be a really interesting one in the Big 12.
It is. The Red Raiders are a bit of a surprise in the Big 12, at least to me. Utah is kind of a name that's always around, and they're ranked right next to each other. So this has all the makings of a really, really good game. And Vegas is expecting a very typical Big 12 shootout with that 57.5. So if you like offense, obviously you're going to be a Big 12 fan, or you're going to be a Notre Dame fan and anybody they play. So we'll see what happens in this one. But yeah, that's a big number at 57.5. I don't know that I would mess with that number, but I do like Utah as the favorite here. But again, it's not much of a lean towards the Utes.
This is going to be an interesting one. We're going to find out what type of football team Texas Tech is. So far this year, they've played Arkansas, Pine Bluff, Kent State, and Oregon State.
Yeah.
So we don't really know a whole lot about the Red Raiders. Utah, on the other hand, they've had somewhat of an interesting start to the season. They played UCF that's last season. They played UCLA on the road, dismantled them, played Cal Poly the week after that, and last week they played Wyoming on the road. So, again, these are going to be 2 teams that we just don't really know a whole lot about. But a couple of takeaways here. 2 player props. I think that could be interesting. First one, Terrence Carter, the Texas Tech tight end. His over-under receiving yards right now is set at 34.5. On the season, he's averaging over 64 receiving yards per game, and he had 102 in their last outing against Oregon State. Vince, I like the Red Raiders tight end in this one.
Yeah, it seems like pretty easy money when you're looking at the numbers, so I like it as well. That's a good one. You got another one here?
Sure do. Cameron Dickey, sticking with the Red Raiders. He is their starting running back. I like him for an anytime touchdown. They played 3 games. He has 4 rushing touchdowns on the season in 3 games. It's not bad. Has at least 1 in every game this season, and he had 2 against Kent State in week 2. I think this is going to be one of those games where I think Texas Tech is going to try to establish the ground game early and often, and he has been a clear red zone threat. So I like Cameron Dickey with a rushing touchdown in this one.
Nice. I really like your one to keep away from. I'm surprised that this particular number is as high as it is considering the position.
Yeah, you and me both, man. Look, if you guys haven't had the opportunity to go watch Utah quarterback Devin Dampier, I would go give him a look. He is an extremely exciting dual threat quarterback, and he is a true dual threat quarterback, not what some people thought about, Kenny Minchie, just using that as an example. He's an athletic player, but he does his best work from the pocket. Devin Dampierre is a true dual threat player. He can hurt you with his arm and with his legs. He went for over 80 rushing yards in 2 out of his 3 games so far this season. But Texas Tech is the number 17 team in the country in sacks and has 9 sacks on the year for minus 70 yards. And sack yardage, as we know, goes against rushing yards in college. Devin Dampierre's over-under for rushing yards is set at 66.
It's a big number. Big number.
And so this is one of those where I'm just staying away from it. This is the first real test for either team, in my opinion. And while I very well could see it hitting, this is a slip buster, in my opinion, and I just don't trust it. I'm staying away from Devin Dampierre rushing yards, that's for sure.
Smart. Our second game of the week is going to be number 22, Auburn, at number 11, Oklahoma. The big 3, Oklahoma favored by just about a touchdown, 6.5 points. Obviously, Oklahoma on the money line. Doesn't do a whole lot for you from a financial gain standpoint because it's minus 245 on the money line. The over-under set at a fairly low 47.5, which is kind of interesting all by itself. Trev, any thoughts on the big 3 here?
Yeah, this one's going to be interesting. Again, not too sure about either of these teams. Now, they have been tested more than the first matchup that we talked about.
True.
Auburn opened up the season, I believe, on the road against Baylor. And they came away with a victory in a shootout there. And then Oklahoma obviously took care of business against that team up north for Ohio State fans, but they took care of business against Michigan Wolverines. And they held, I believe, Bryce Underwood, I think they held him to 9 of 24 for passing because we talked about taking his over in passing yards a couple of weeks ago, and the Sooners defense and Brett Venables really shut that down. So big 3 is interesting here. I'm in agreement with you. I'm going to stay away from the money line unless I wanted to parlay that into like other money lines because I don't hate minus 245 for a home team, especially when there's an 11 ranking spot difference in the AP top 25. But I don't know if I trust it enough because I still don't know how much we know about either of these teams. But Vince, the 2 player props that we have down here, I think are pretty interesting, and they're both quarterback centric. What do you think?
Well, yeah, and they're both anytime touchdowns, so we can kind of take them at the same time. But we've got both quarterbacks, Jackson Arnold for Auburn and John Mateer for Oklahoma, and we've got them both for anytime touchdowns. I like the Jackson Arnold one. The odds are good at plus 105. He's got 4 rushing touchdowns on the season in 3 games. He didn't score in week 2, but that was against Ball State, so he didn't really need to. So they didn't really use his legs a lot in that game. And then you got John Mateer, who, if anybody's been paying attention, and I watched that Oklahoma-Michigan game, he was dangerous with his legs in that game. He scored a rushing touchdown in every game this season. He is a big part of this offense and what he wants to do, both with his arm and his legs. And so once they get down in the red zone, they're going to be looking for him to run the ball in. And he, in a big game like this, that's absolutely what they're going to be doing down in the red zone. I think they're going to be in the red zone, a decent amount. So I do like him to get into the end zone. So both quarterbacks in this game, Arnold and Mateer, anytime touchdowns, we like it. Go ahead and take it.
Absolutely. One keep away, however, and we kind of alluded to it when we first started talking about this matchup, Vince. I'm staying away from the big 3 here. Look, at the end of the day, this game could go either way, and I wouldn't add spread or money line to the bet slip unless you think Auburn gets an upset win, because then it's worth it. Auburn money line right now is plus 198. Those are worth the odds to put into a bet slip. I don't hate that. I don't. But at the end of the day, I can't confidently say what type of team Auburn is yet. I can't confidently say what type of team Oklahoma is yet. And honestly, I have a better idea, of what Oklahoma is more than what Auburn is right now.
Yeah, agreed.
But that could change. But I think Oklahoma has the advantage of being at home. Hopefully their win over Michigan and them hovering right outside of the top 10 is instilling a little bit of energy in Norman, Oklahoma. It's going to be a tough environment to play. Not that Auburn is not used to playing in tough environments, but I have a lot of faith in Oklahoma's defense, especially led under Brett Venables. So I'm not really touching the big 3 in this game. It just gives me the heebie-jeebies, Vince.
That's fair.
Don't like it.
Our third game today that we are going to talk about is Purdue at number 24, Notre Dame. The big 3 for this game, Notre Dame favored by 25.5 points. The money line for Notre Dame is at minus 4,000. Probably want to stay away from that unless you're getting like a 10-game parlay of money lines. I don't know that one really does anything for you. The over-under set at 54.5. That is at minus 110. I think that's probably a good one to get after. But what are your thoughts on the big three, Trev?
Yeah, look, man, at the end of the day, money line's just not worth touching.
No.
In really any fashion. This is going to be the third game in a row that I've said this about Notre Dame. But I legitimately just don't see them losing this game. I don't. So it's not worth it to bet on Purdue money. Now, one of the things that you could bet on if you're feeling a little juicy, honestly, is Purdue to cover at 25.5. I mean, honestly, that's something that Vince and I were talking about before the show. But again, this is a matchup where Notre Dame blew them out of the water last year. So the big three is a little bit weird for me. Could I see Notre Dame winning by 26? I could. But based on their defensive output in the last couple games, I could also see Purdue covering. So who knows? But one thing that I am confident in, Vince.
I know you are.
Say it. Player props.
Say it. Say your first one because I know you're confident in it.
Yeah. Yeah, I know it is my guy. For anybody that knows and follows me on the Irish Breakdown podcast, first player prop that we're going over is my guy, Eli Raridan, tight end for Notre Dame. His over in receiving yards at 44.5. Look, Eli Raridan has been Notre Dame's leading receiver in terms of yardage the last two games. He had 97 against Miami. He had 85 against Texas A&M. So the fact that his over-under is set at 44.5 seems like a steal to me, especially after Purdue played USC last Saturday and gave up 67 receiving yards to their tight end, Lake McCree, on 3 catches.
Mm-hmm.
So I really, really, really like Eli Raridan's over in receiving yards. And the last time I looked, I think the odds were minus 114. Parlay that sucker and make a little bit of coin off of it because that is good. Yeah. Yep. Actually, I won my parlay. Unfortunately, Notre Dame didn't win, so I obviously didn't put anything on their money line or anything from the big three in it. But I won my parlay last Saturday.
Smart.
I put together Notre Dame one, so we re-upped the account essentially. Now, the two player props that we have. First one was Eli Raridan. Second one, I'm actually going against Notre Dame here, and this was hard to type out, but I'm not going to lie to you, the numbers were just too good to stay away from. Ryan Brown, the quarterback for Purdue, his over-under passing yards right now is set at 167.5.
That is such a pedestrian number.
It
I'm
is.
Surprised by that, to be honest.
Well, I had to take the fan hat off. And as much as I would love to say Notre Dame has the best secondary in the country and blah, 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 they haven't proven it so far this year. It is not good right now. And Leonard Moore and Devontae Smith are questionable for this matchup. I like Ryan Brown's over 167.5 passing yards. This is a better Purdue receiving core than what they faced last year. Armad Branch, you have Nitro Tuggle, you have Michael Jackson III. I don't believe there's any relation. You have E.J. Horton. You have all these guys. And look, at the end of the day, Purdue is an offense right now averaging 271 passing yards a game. Notre Dame, on the other hand, has given up 812 total yards of offense in 2 games. 565 of them have been passing yards, Vince. I know those numbers hurt. I know those numbers hurt to hear you. But we're talking betting today. Brown also threw for 300 yards against the Trojans last Saturday. I think Ryan Brown over 167 passing yards is a pretty good bet to take.
Probably one that I will take, unfortunately. But, that's a very low number. I'm curious to see if that changes any as we get closer to game time. But 167.5 is a very, very tempting number for Ryan Brown for sure. What are you staying away from in this one?
I'm not touching the spread for the reasons that I talked about earlier. Look, I could very easily see Notre Dame beat Purdue by 26 points. They won by 59 last year on the road, but this is a new Purdue team. It's a new head coach. They have over 80 new players. 54 of them are transfers. It's legitimately a completely brand new team. This Notre Dame defense has given up an average of 34 points per game, though. And until I see otherwise, I'm not betting on Notre Dame spreads.
Fair.
Because the fan in me can't bet on a team to cover against Notre Dame. But when I look at it realistically, I watched Notre Dame give up over 40 points at home in regulation for the first time since 2014. I know. But I can't in good faith say, oh, yeah, Notre Dame's going to beat Purdue by 26. Not till I see it. And then I'm going to have to see a little bit more stacked on top of each other. Those are just going to be things that are going to have to change moving forward. But I'm staying away from the spread in this game because I very easily could see it going one or the other way, and I just don't trust it.
Game 4 tonight. Number 9, Illinois travels to Bloomington, Indiana. The number 19 Hoosiers, the big 3. Indiana favored by 5.5 in this game. Money line to Indiana at minus 215. The over-under set at 52.5. Your thoughts on the big 3, Trev?
Again, this one's another interesting game because these are two teams that I just don't think we know a whole lot about.
They haven't played anybody.
No.
Well, I mean, Illinois, who was their last game? They played somebody their last game, didn't they?
2 weeks ago, they played Duke.
Okay, that's
right. But last week they played Western Michigan.
Okay.
And then we obviously know how Indiana opened up their season. And so it's just I don't know how this could swing either way. You look at Illinois' schedule, they beat Western Illinois 52-3. They beat Duke on the road 45-19. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that was a smoke show. Yeah.
And then you come back home, you beat Western Michigan 38-0. And then on the flip side of the coin, you have Indiana, who's also 3-0. Well, why are they 3-0? I'll tell you. They played Old Dominion at home and won by 13. They played Kennesaw State at home and won by, 47. And then they played Indiana State at home and won 73-0. Now they turn that around and they get Illinois also at home. Look, I couldn't tell you what either of these teams are because I haven't watched them play. I mean, I guess we know a little bit more about Illinois because they've played Duke, I guess. But I'm still not confident in saying that because right now Duke is 1-2 on the season. They lost to Tulane last week by a touchdown. And they lost to Illinois the week before that. Their only win on the season is against Elon. So this one I'm staying away from the big 3. I know that's not my keep away, but I just, in general, I don't know if I trust it. Indiana spread at minus 5.5, then the over-under at 52.5. Yes, these two offenses have put up a lot of points against really bad competition.
Correct.
I don't know about it, man.
Well, 2-player props, and you say we know nothing about this team, so teach us something that we can know about this team.
Sometimes you got to dig. No, I'm with you, man. Sometimes you got to dig a little bit deeper into some of these. And one of the things that I like is Luke Altmaier over 1.5 passing touchdowns. It's Illinois starting quarterback. Right now, he has 8 passing touchdowns on the season through 3 games. He's thrown at least 2 in every game. And I think on the road, you're going to need your quarterback who, elected to forego the NFL draft, playing behind a veteran offensive line. I think he's going to have to come back and put on a little bit of a show if you want to beat the Hoosiers on the road. So I like Luke Altmaier over 1.5 passing touchdowns. And then for the Hoosiers, I like Omar Cooper Jr. over 54.5 receiving yards. I understand that it's Indiana State, but Elijah Surratt got a little banged up against Indiana State, which caused Fernando Mendoza to target Omar Cooper Jr. 10 times, and he caught all 10 of them. Right now, he's averaging 23 yards per catch this season, and I think IU is going to look to hit big plays behind Illinois' defense. I like Omar Cooper Jr. over 54.5 receiving yards.
All right, what are you staying away from in this one?
So Indiana has a running back by committee. And right now, one of the last player props that I saw, Roman Hemby's over-under rushing yards is set at 72.5. He went over 72 once, and it was against Old Dominion in the opener. IU rotates their running backs quite a bit. Here's a caveat. Illinois hasn't allowed a single rusher over 46 yards in their first 3 games. This is one. Now, look, like most of our keepaways, would I be shocked if this hit, especially given my track record with some of this stuff? No. Would I be shocked if Roman Hemby? But look, all signs are pointing in this direction to be a parlay buster. His over-under being set at 73 yards when he's only went over that once against Old Dominion, I just don't love. Combine that with Illinois' rush defense. Look, they haven't had anybody over 46 yards. Haven't had anybody hit the 50 mark. So I just don't trust it. I'm staying away from that one, Vince.
All right. Favorite part of the night, it's locks, drops, and dogs, man. And so we are going to give you our locks of the week. We're going to give you 2 games to stay away from, and we're going to give you our dog of the week to wrap everything up. So lock of the week, Trev, you and I are both sitting at 1-3. So if you are a contrarian and you're like, well, I'm going to do whatever these guys say the opposite of, then you're looking pretty good right now. You're 3-1. But we're going to give you a couple more locks, and we're going to see if we can't turn the tide here on our season record, Trev. So give me your lock of the week.
Lock of the week. And this kind of pains me to say, but I like Miami -7.5 against Florida.
Oof.
I know, but they're at home. The Hurricanes are at home, and the Gators are reeling right now. Did you see how bad DJ Lagway played against LSU?
Yeah, they're just not a very good football team. And, you can say the ifs, ands, and buts, the whole thing, but like 5 interceptions, one to like a over 300-pound defensive lineman who returned it all the way for a touchdown. Like,
yeah,
yuck.
Yeah.
Why are you turning the ball over so much? And they didn't even win by that much. Like, there were opportunities for Florida to win this game, but whatever. That's fine. Another tough one to obviously on the road to Miami. It's going to be a crazy atmosphere down there.
It is. Sure. No, it is. Absolutely. Look, DJ Lagway, the quarterback for Florida, threw five interceptions against LSU. And LSU's offense hasn't got rolling yet, and they still beat Florida by 10. It's not a fun time to be down in Gainesville right now, man. And Miami, as much as it pains me to say, they're rolling right now, man. They beat Notre Dame at home in week 1. They held off the comeback. But at one point in that game, they were up 21-7. They followed that up, didn't have that, hangover big game win. They beat Bethune-Cookman 45-3. Then South Florida, a team that beat Florida in the swamp, they handled it home 49-12. So I do like Miami at -7.5. I think that's my lock of the week.
I'm going out on a limb here, which is probably not smart because of my record so far in locks of the week. And I think I let my gut kind of take over, or my heart kind of take over for my lock of the week this week. I am taking Nebraska outright and with the points. Now, it's not much of a difference because Michigan's favored by 1.5 and Nebraska's at home. So Michigan's going on the road and Nebraska's giving them 1.5, which is interesting. So, Michigan hasn't won a game outside of the state of Michigan yet this year. They look very pedestrian against the only team that they played with a pulse, which was Oklahoma, and they lost that game on the road. And now they're going on the road to Nebraska. And I'm not sold on the $12 million man behind center at Michigan. Can he do enough to go on the road and beat the Cornhuskers? I don't think so. I like Nebraska to win outright. They moved to 4-0, but again, we haven't seen much from Nebraska yet this year, as far as like who they've played and all of those kinds of things. But again, Michigan blew the doors off Central Michigan. Okay, well, you're supposed to do that. So what is it going to look like when you play a team in your conference on the road without your head coach, mind you? I'm not a huge fan of Sharon Moore, but he's still the head coach and he's not going to be at this game. So I think that's a piece of it as well. I got Nebraska winning this one outright.
I like that, Vince. Cornhuskers guy. And this is the thing I like about that pick is this is a game that Nebraska has to win. They've been trying to be back now. I mean,
yes,
Nebraska's been trying to be back longer than Texas and the U combined put together times 6. So
yes, agreed.
This is a game that Nebraska absolutely has to win. And I love that pick. Love that pick. We already saw a sample size of Bryce Young on the road with his head coach.
Yeah, right.
So we'll see what happens. Drops of the week, Vince.
Yes.
These are interesting. This is a big number in mine. The over-under for the Kansas at TCU game is set at 64.5.
Ooh, man, that's a big number.
Over-under. Now, listen, at the end of the day, there's part of me that understands why. This is an old-school Big 12 matchup. And when I mean old school, I mean like they're expecting it to be high-scoring. And you have 2 good Big 12 quarterbacks battling it out. Jalen Daniels with Kansas versus Josh Hoover for TCU. If you enjoy offensive football and you like fun quarterback play, you need to watch this game, plain and simple. It's going to be really fun. There's going to be some big plays. There's going to be some head-scratching mistakes, all the stuff that you love to watch in Big 12 football. But with that being said, it's an extremely high number, Vince.
Yeah, it is.
64.5 over-under could ruin a bet slip, even though TCU's offense is ranked number 14 in the country in points per game. Kansas is number 48 in the country in points per game. Something's got to give. And I know I called this an old school Big 12 matchup. I don't see this being, Oklahoma's Baker Mayfield versus Patrick Mahomes, Texas Tech type of final score where they combine for like 100 points and 2,000 yards of offense in one game. I don't see it happening. I'm not touching that one. What about you, man?
I'm staying in the Big Ten for my drop of the week. Iowa travels to Rutgers. Iowa's a 2.5-point favorite. Iowa is 2-1, and the only team they played with a pulse was Iowa State, and they lost. Rutgers is 3-0 at home, but they haven't played a Power 4 team yet this year. So there's just way too many question marks for me to do anything with this game. And so I'm saying stay away from it. Who is Iowa? Can they score on the road? Yeah, Rutgers isn't exactly a juggernaut, but it'd be just like Rutgers to upset Iowa, at home, all of the things. I just don't know enough about either one of these teams to put any kind of wager on it. So stay away from Iowa at Rutgers. Just put on the Big Ten Network and just enjoy them scoring a combined like 12 points. And, just don't bet on it because it's just going to be – I just don't feel like that one's going to go anywhere for us. So just stay away from Iowa at Rutgers.
I'm with you. I'm with you completely. And by the way, if contrary to what I talked about, if you like exciting football, if you like fun to watch football, tune into the Kansas at TCU game. If you need to take a nap.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you ate a little bit too much buffalo wings earlier in the day and you got to lay down and you need some background noise.
Yeah. Well, and this is a Friday night game. This is the exact kind of game you put on Friday night during high school football because high school football is better. Like that's where I'm at on this one. There's two games on Friday night. Tulsa at Oklahoma State. That's a snoozer. And Iowa at Rutgers, also a snoozer. And they're putting it on Fox. Wow. Okay. Guess you don't have much of a lineup on a Friday night. Got it.
Guess not. I guess not. Those are the types of games where when your wife wants to go to sleep, but you're not ready to go to bed yet, it's like, sorry, I can't. The game's on. And then you just suffer through Iowa Rutgers.
Oof. Rough.
Yeah, my excuse is, I need to for work. I talked about it on the spread option, so I got to make sure that I'm dialed. I got to make sure that we're tuned in. So keep that little secret between us. I guess on the off chance that she's watching, but who knows? Now,
here we go. Here we go.
Dog of the week. Here we go. You and I are both on a little bit of a winning streak. Yours, I guess, is a little bit longer than mine. It is what it is. But dogs of the week. Mine is Syracuse plus 17.5 on the road against Clemson. This is not your older brother's Clemson team. I hate to break it to you. I say older brother. I can't say not your father's because Clemson was like winning championships 8 years ago.
Not that long ago. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So can't really say it's not your father's, but it's definitely not your older brother's Clemson football team. Look, they lost the opener in ugly fashion against LSU in a game where they scored 10 points offensively. They followed up that performance and only scored 27 points and needed a 17-point third quarter to do so to beat Troy by 9 points at home. Last week, they lost to Georgia Tech on the road 24-21. This offense with this quarterback and this O-line and this receiving core has yet to score over 30 points, Vince.
Crazy. I don't get it.
Absolutely crazy. On the other sideline, quarterback Steve Angeli leads the country in passing yards per game. How crazy is that? Now, design of the offense, mind you. But at the end of the day, absolutely. But at the end of the day, Steve Angeli leads the country in passing yards, total passing yards, not passing yards per game. And Syracuse is the number 33 team in the country in points per game with 39.7 points per game scored. And I know what you're talking about. Outside of Tennessee, who have they played? Fair enough. I watched Clemson need 17 points in one quarter to beat Troy by 9.
Mm-hmm.
I like Syracuse to cover. They're my dog of the week.
Now, Vince, all right, you're putting your money on peanut butter and jelly. Good for you. That I don't know that I could go that route, but I hope for your sake, buddy, that it hits and you can crest right over that 500 mark. My dog of the week, and again, there's no pressure because I'm 4-0 or anything. And this one, actually, as you said earlier, when you're taking the Brown kid to throw over 167.5 in the Notre Dame Purdue game, and it pained you to type that out. This one was painful for me to type out because my dog of the week is I'm taking Purdue to cover. And I just don't trust the Notre Dame defense right now at all. I think Notre Dame's offense can score. As you said earlier, would I be surprised if Notre Dame wins by 26? No, I would not be surprised if that were the case, but I'm not expecting it. That's the problem. And I should be expecting it. We should be sitting here in a position where that is going to be the case, but I'm not expecting it. I'm expecting Purdue to come out and watch the first 2 games that Notre Dame has played and see that there's going to be some easy access throws, and the Brown kid's going to have one of the best games of his career, and Purdue's going to score a bunch of points. I'm not going to win. I'm not saying that they're going to win, but getting inside 25.5, yeah, I think that's definitely possible. So I'm taking Purdue to cover here, but I'm really okay if they don't. And I'll be okay if I'm 4-1. Like, I won't be sad if I'm 4-1, because that means that Notre Dame went out and pummeled the Boilermakers, which is what they should do. I just don't think they will do it. And so that's why I've got Purdue covering. It's painful. It's sad. I never thought these words would come out of my mouth. But I think I'm probably going to be 5-0 when it's all said and done. And that's a sad state of affairs if you're a Notre Dame fan.
Vince, I respect you. We've talked about, we talked about FIU covering against Penn State, UTEP covering against Texas. It's fair, and your criteria meets. It's just the hat that I got on, the flag that I got behind me, the board behind you, the little golden helmet hanging by that bat in the background.
I know.
That hurts. But I can't lie to you and say that I don't believe you. I wish I could. Look, as my friend, I hope you go 5-0. Just big picture, blanket.
Of course.
Series. However, I am rooting my butt off that you go 4-1.
Me too.
From a Notre Dame fan standpoint, because man,
me too. That's exactly where I'm at too. Like I said, I would not be upset if this one didn't come out, in my favor. I'm okay with that, because that means Notre Dame did what they're supposed to do. So bring it on. It'll make that game even more exciting to watch, to see if Notre Dame can get over the 26.5.
Well, let's say this, Vince. I hope that's your only loss. Dogs of the week for the season.
There you go.
But
fair
listen,
enough.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for this week's edition of the Spread Option. Thank you all for tuning in. Make sure to share this podcast with your friends, family, anybody that you know enjoys betting, or if they just want to hear us talk about college football. Look, at the end of the day, you don't have to bet to enjoy this show. We're talking about different spreads, different lines, other things to look out for throughout college football that you don't have to put money down on, but you could. Something that's definitely readily available for you to do. But we will be back on a regular schedule next week. We'll be back next Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Vince and I will be going live. And then if there's any other hiccups that happen throughout the week, because sometimes life's, I get that, we will make sure to let everybody know. But thank you all for tuning in. Make sure you're subscribed to the CFB Nation channel. And then for some of our Notre Dame fans in here, I see you, Stymie, DJ. We'll be going live again tomorrow at 1 p.m. on the Irish Breakdown podcast. So for Vince D'Addario, I'm Trevor Trowbridge. We will see you back here next time on the Spread Option on the CFB Nation channel.